Good evening. Thanks for coming tonight, coming to your own homes and tuning in to our thing that we do here. Um, I've been enjoying the rain as it started outside. I heard there may be storms tonight, and if we lose power, I guess we lose power, and we can try to pick up where we left off if that's going to be how it works. Tonight I want to talk about the next in the series of precepts, the Zen Buddhist precepts. We kind of covered the clear mind precepts, and we're going into the 10. Some people call them the grave precepts. Some people call these the clear mind precepts. I found it lots of different ways. And it's kind of funny, I grew up Catholic, and we have the 10 Commandments. And so when I saw the 10 precepts first, I thought, oh boy, here we go again. But it's not really like that. Not to me, anyway. So first, I'll talk a little bit about the precepts in general. And tonight's talk specifically is about the second precept, which is do not steal. It sounds very much like a commandment, but how we work with things changes how things present themselves and how things are. I want to talk a little bit about how stealing affects our practice. There's kind of a lot of roads that I could have gone down for this talk, but this one isn't one that I've heard of a lot, so I wanted to investigate it a little bit, and so these are my thoughts on that investigation. Just a little bit about ethics and morals. I found a lot of conflicting evidence or conflicting thoughts about ethics versus morals, and so I'll just say my piece about that. And something that came up while I was investigating this second precept is the safety of practice, keeping a safe space for our practice. And then at the end, I'll kind of wrap up and go over things. And then we'll have some Q&A, which would be nice. I'd like to hear from you. So just a brief word on the precepts in general. In my view, the precepts are an ethical guideline, and they were made for monks and nuns in community. The Buddha kind of put forth a few of these guidelines, and they've been added to, and some precepts. I saw a list of 48 precepts. I've heard of lists of many hundreds of precepts, but we're working with a short list of 10, and they're the ones that we take for Jukai, or the Buddhist initiation, where we sow a little rakusu and commit ourselves to this path, this way of life. Some centers stress that these guidelines are only valid in a practice community, that they only apply when we think of it in relation to the practice space. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the practice space in general, but I see a wider application of these precepts, having worked with them kind of on a broad plane, where do they apply in my life, kind of thing. And I think working with them in that broader way is very beneficial. You can take them out into your life, you can see what happens. I just found it very life-changing, and very, at first it was a little disorienting because there are some viewpoints that I was just like, something to think about. So overall, I treat these precepts, these guides, as suggestions for myself. Um, I think they're good suggestions, but I find them less helpful if they're treated as commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Um, I find that rigid rules kind of fall short when there is other things that are going on that don't encompass the meaning of the rule. Um, there's kind of an intent of the rule, you know, yeah, we shouldn't indiscriminately kill things. But there's also, you know, how can we never kill things? How can we never take something? Um, and how can we vow to do those things? How can we vow to do anything if we know we're going to fail at it? So this is something about the precepts that was explained to me as that the precepts, these guidelines are like a rudder of a ship, or a boat or whatever, that we use to guide our actions. And what we're doing is we're vowing to use this rudder. We're vowing to come back to it. And we might fail from time to time we might let go of the rudder, we might drift off, we might consciously or unconsciously make decisions that go against this vow that we made. But then we just come back to it. We just keep coming back to the vow. We just keep taking hold of that rudder. And we keep coming back to living the precepts as best as we can. And sometimes that means, as Category says, 100, 1,000, million times. We just keep coming back, just coming back. How do these precepts arrive in this moment? How can I keep coming back? How can I keep vowing to do these? So the second precept simply says, do not steal. And I initially thought, that's pretty good. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to talk about this too much. I think we kind of get that stealing's bad and we shouldn't do it. But of course, that would leave us with a long time left of the evening, and also not the point of this exercise. The point of the exercise is to dig a little bit, to scratch the surface and see what's under there and see if anything shows up, if anything's interesting for us. So I found that there are different interpretations of this. They're not really translations, but you know, translation is always a part of it because this was not written in English. It's not my original language. So in Sanskrit, closest to the source of where this may have come from, of the Buddha, it says, do not take what is not given. Do not take what is not given. That is not quite don't steal. And I'll come back to that and dig at that a little bit later. But just as a little different flavor to me than do not steal, which the Chinese simplified the do not take what is not given into do not steal. Very simple. Maybe the same intent of, you know, we're in community, we're doing things together, and this behavior can be harmful. But not taking what is not given can have more nuanced complications, nuanced applications. That's what I meant to say, not complications. It's complicated too. Nuanced applications in our life. So I did find also several different interpretations of this vow. There's two that I found that we use here at Zen Center, that we've used at Zen Center recently, either for Jukai, the Buddhist initiation, or for ordination. Um, and both of those, again, have a little different flavor. I vow not to steal, but to receive what is offered as a gift. I vow not to steal, but to receive what is offered as a gift. There's our not to steal. But we're also, on the flip side, receive what is offered as a gift. And what is offered as a gift? That's a good question. The version that was that I initiated with Jukai was, I vow not to take what is not given, but to cultivate and encourage generosity. I vow not to take what is not given, but to cultivate and encourage generosity. Both the same intent, little different flavors. I'm going to receive what is offered as a gift. I'm going to cultivate and encourage generosity. To me, that feels like a little bit of in and out. But as I've spoken a little bit about before, there's a bit of a background hum to me. There's a hum behind all this that is reminds me of the giver, the receiver, and the gift, the emptiness of the three wheels. Giver, receiver, and gift. There's not three things going on, there's one thing. There's this flow that comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes, and it's happening at the same time. And do I know who's giving, who's receiving, who's stealing, what's being stolen, who's being stolen from? So why would we have this precept about not stealing? How does the act of stealing affect our practice? I think it has a little to do in two ways. It has an effect on the community as a whole. Stealing things that don't belong to us, we're all adults, we kind of know. It violates trust. There's pain that comes with that. When we're wide open and we're vulnerable, like what we're learning to do in this practice, we're learning to be open, wholehearted in the moment, just really out there, really giving everything that we have, not everything that we have, because that would leave us with nothing, right? There's both sides of this that we have to take care of. The immediate side of the things that we do have and we do need for our life, and the absolute version of we own nothing and we have nothing and we are everything and we have everything. But when somebody takes advantage of that, takes advantage of us, takes advantage of our open-heartedness, it really hurts. It's really painful. I want to talk a minute about a situation that occurred at the Zen Center. Boy, I don't know how many years ago it was now. And those that have been around may remember, we had a rash of stealing a few years ago. And what would happen is during programming, during Zazen, and usually during morning or evening Zazen, I don't know if it happens so much on the weekend, on Sunday, there's just so many people around. But somebody would come in and they would go through some things and leave with them. And our way at Zen Center, when we're sitting, is to sit and kind of let the things happen that are happening. The sounds that the building makes of people coming and going and entering and leaving is just fine, and those are, we just let those kind of be. But when this happened, um, I personally I couldn't believe it. I was just, what is going on? Why would somebody come in here to steal things? Well, they come in here to steal things because there's things in here that I guess people that want to steal things think are valuable to steal. People's wallets, phones, purses, uh, that kind of thing. And it went on for some time, and we, as a center, I was a Doan at the time, and I was instructed to uh, greet people at whenever they came in. So if we're sitting zazen, and instead of letting uh, the comings and goings of the temple happen, I was to get up and I was to, just say hello and let them know that I know they're there, and if they need help, I can help them or direct them or whatever, and then come back and rejoin zazen. And it kept going on for some time until I think one of the senior priests, it might have been Ben Conley, he figured out kind of what was happening, when it was happening, and who it was. And I really don't know the story, so I can't relay it. I heard it was done without incident, and it was very skillful, of course. I don't know how I would have handled it, and we never will. But how did the rash of thefts there affect the community? How did that affect the practice? So we didn't have any idea who it was for a long time. I'm not sure if it was, God, it felt like forever. It felt like months and months that this went on. It might have been like a week or two. I'm not sure. Um, but people didn't feel like they could leave their bags and coats in those areas, in the entryways or in the basement where they would normally do that. Um, and that just feels icky. And like I said, the Doans had to check on everybody that was coming in and out of the room or in and out of the building. And I felt like I was a sentry, like I was on call and I had to guard the place and, uh, question everybody what they're doing there. That's not what we were doing. We weren't like, hey, validate your existence while you're in the building. We weren't doing that at all. But just being greeted at the door in a context where normally you're free to come and go can be misinterpreted as being guarded. And maybe because, for me anyway, I was being guarded. I felt like I needed to be guarded. And what kind of feeling does that evoke from people coming in? Oh, you're guarded. Oh, this place is a kind of little closed off. Do I want to kind of keep coming back here? It's not really a place of openness and trust. It's not a warm feeling, And that's for new people coming in and for people that have been coming for years and years. Did anybody want to not come because these thefts were happening? And personally, again, I was wondering about anyone who came in, whether I knew them or didn't know them, because I didn't know who it was. So my little mind is spinning up, going, "Oh, could it be that? Could it be them? Could it be them? Could be anybody?" And when it can be anybody, it can be everybody. And then where does that leave me? But I felt a lot of fear around that. I felt fear of confrontation. I felt fear of, losing my stuff. I felt really angry. I felt angry that someone would violate the trust that we have that someone would do that to a community of faith, um, in any really open space. It's a community space. We all take care of it. We all do things in there. And I think these are normal reactions for that kind of violation. I'm sure there were much stronger reactions, and there may have been reactions that were less strong. Um, and so during that time, I guess what worked for me was to feel compassion in the midst of these feelings for me and my own suffering, for the suffering of the Sangha, for the practice place that didn't feel quite as safe as it could have been. And also, funnily enough, there was some compassion for the people that were taking things. And I think that's uh, the second way that this affects our practice is that it has taking something that's not given, stealing, has an effect on the one who steals. In our practice, we find ourselves in some form of interconnectedness, some form of way that we are living that we cannot separate a harmful action that's done outwardly to a harmful action that's done inwardly. I heard a story at some point, when you strike with a fist, your fist hurts too. The thing you have struck is hurt, and you are hurt. And as people, we're social creatures. We really, as an organism, I think we thrive, we're able to thrive because we have compassion, because we care about others naturally, because we take care of each other. We work collaboratively, and that collaboration is a manifestation of our compassion. It's a natural thing that we do. We wouldn't have gotten this far if we were all just grabbing what we wanted and didn't care anything about anybody else. So, in light of this natural care that we have and this social thing that we have that goes on between us, what harm do we do on ourselves? What harm do we do inside when we ignore that? How far do we have to ignore that before we can take an action that hurts somebody else? What kind of hurt has already been going on inside before we can do that to somebody else? What state do we need to be in to take something that's not ours? This also kind of begs the question, what parts of ourselves are we listening to? What parts of ourselves do we need to shut off so that we can live with this hurt, this thing that we're doing to ourselves? Isn't all that suffering too? All that in the heart of the thief, isn't that suffering too? And in this practice, we move toward suffering. We look at it, we see it, we're with it. We're compassionate with the suffering, We're compassionate with the one who suffers. So a little aside on ethics and morals, um, when I came across the precepts and saw that they were ethical guidelines, I thought, oh, what's the difference between ethics and morals? I don't know, let's look it up, as I tend to do, and we have the internet, so here we go. So ethical guidelines seem to be these external rules that we put in place for the benefit of the community or for the benefit of others, everybody, ourselves included. Um, and these are usually widely agreed upon guidelines so that we can kind of exist in a collective, in a society. Moral guidelines, oh, yeah, and these are kind of just what I decided on. I've seen it flip completely opposite, where my ethics and moral definitions are the opposite. So um, I guess I'm going to define them this way and see how that goes. So moral guidelines are internal to each person, and they're the things that tell us what's right or wrong. And spending a little time with this, I realized that they're kind of those little lines that we make, that we cross or don't cross. They're what we will and won't do in certain situations. And morals tend to stand up a little better in varying situations than a strict rule. Um, Ethical guidelines can also be flexible, but they have to be framed as flexible. So I think of a moral as the things that we will and won't do. I will kill this mosquito, but I'll avoid driving over squirrels. So that's kind of my line here. Mosquitoes, no. Squirrels, yeah, yeah. Um, and so that kind of tells us a little bit about ourselves. Um, I won't say that the life of this person is worth less than the life of this person. That's just something that morally I can't do. And my morals are informed by the culture that I'm in, my privilege that I've grown up with, my religion, my karma, everything that's happened to me, my whole history, the things that I've added myself, the choices that I've made. All these things kind of play into um, my moral palette. And I think the overlap of ethics and morals, the overlap of these two systems is where our practice, where we bring ourselves and everything that we are, our morals, we meets our conduct, what we maybe should and shouldn't do in community. And in Zazen, we are tuning into this. We are tuning into ourselves. We're tuning into our breath. We're watching our thoughts and our patterns over time. We're observing what's happening in the moment over and over. And this is a practice for our lives. We can stay tuned in to what's going on inside of us as we're going out about our day. And we can listen to our morals as they pop up, as they show us those lines that we have. We might not even be aware of them. But when they come up, are we tuned in enough to notice that and feel that there's something going on? Can we feel when we cross the line? can I feel it when I zip by my coworker's desk, or used to zip by my coworker's desk and see a piece of candy and just kind of nip that and pop it in my mouth? Do I feel that, I didn't really ask for that candy. It wasn't really given. It was just on their desk. Maybe it was, but I don't know that. What does that feel like? What line is there? What does it feel like when we don't cross the line? What does it feel like when we take a stand for what we believe in? And what kind of things, when all that stuff comes up, when all these different situations in our life present themselves to us in this moment, what kind of things make us rethink our own morals, rethink our own lines? And then comes in the role of ethics. When we stop listening to that inner guide, when we either repeatedly stuff it down or ignore it, or sometimes, man, we just need to do what we need to do to get through the day, to get through right now. I need 5 minutes. We can come back to this, we're stuffing it down, we're ignoring it, we're numbing out sometimes. We've kind of lost what I've heard call our moral compass. I'm not advocating a moral compass at this point. But we can use this ethical guide, we can use the precepts, we can use ethics to point us toward a more beneficial direction. I don't know what to do in this situation. Last time I did this, now I want to do this. What should I choose? Well, this other thing over here says maybe it would be good if you didn't do that, or maybe it would be good if you were more kind to somebody. Oh, well, it can give us a little space then to explore. It can give us a framework to work from. It can kind of put that rudder back in our hand and reestablish where these lines are for ourselves. And I think this is a constant process. This is something that comes up over and over again, and they're changing all the time. They can change all the time. I guess they're not necessarily changing all the time, but they can. So in Zazen, we're tuning into ourselves to find these boundaries that we have, these lines that we've drawn. And we're also probably doing a lot of other things in Zazen. We're striving toward the way. We're striving toward enlightenment. We're striving to align ourselves with the path. And it's my thought that the container in which we do Zazen is most effective if we can relax while we're doing it, if we can relax into it. Dogen says in the Fukan Zazengi that Zazen is the Dharma gate of ease and repose. In order to investigate our experience slowly and with care, we need to just relax. We need to relax into our body. We need to relax into this moment. And I don't know about you, but not all my Zazen is that way. It's not always relaxed. But can we relax enough to disengage with the body's defenses, with these things that we hold in ourselves? We have mind defenses, we have body defenses. Can we disengage long enough and relax long enough to feel safe to explore these? Biologically, in order to relax, we do need to feel safe. We need to feel safe from physical harm in our external environment. Am I protected from attack, from weather, from pain? Sometimes, the chair I'm sitting on just ain't doing it for me today. What can I do to make it so that my body can just be with itself and relax? And then there's perceived harm from our perceived environment. Am I comfortable with myself? Do I think this person's going to yell at me? There's probably many more that I didn't think of. There's the internal environment. Am I nourished? Am I loved? Am I safe? All this stuff leads to our safety, our sense of safety. And this will look different for everybody. It's different in different cultures and different religions, but I think we're all trying to have a safe space that we can relax in. We can relax to worship. We can relax to devote ourselves. And ours is the Zendo, for meditation, or our homes right now. It's the Zendo for meditation, and it's in our moment-to-moment life. So we're trying to feel safe there so we can investigate this. And the precepts help set up that safe environment so that we can do this work, the work of the way. So we've covered the second precept of not stealing in a little different way. How stealing affects our community, how stealing affects the one who steals. I'm intentionally not using the word thief too much. I think that has a lot of baggage to it. I did use it a couple times as a shortcut. But the one who steals, there's the person that's taking an action, and it's the action that we are concerned about. I'm concerned about the person taking the action because of the internal environment that caused them to do that. How can I support this person then to make a different choice next time? We also covered how important it is that we feel safe in our practice environment, which is kind of the purpose of having the precepts and having this ethical guideline in community so that we can feel safe to do the work of the way. I see I'm going a little long, so I'm going to cut short a little bit. But I vow to take what is not given. Leads me to some questions about what is it to be given? What is it to be freely given? One of the versions that Norman Fisher has is everything belongs to us and nothing belongs to us, but we don't take anything unless it is offered as a gift. So is this breath a gift? Can I take this breath? Am I receiving this breath as a gift? There's a lot more to work with around that. And I found a cool quote in this book, The Eightfold Path, and it's by, it surprised me, it was by Shodo Spring, who's somebody that I've met at Zen Center. She used to practice there, and I think she has a practice down south of the cities. And she said, to be alive is a gift. To be alive is a gift. freely given by the world around us, which does not judge or censure us. To be alive is a gift freely given by the world around us, which does not judge or censure us. Isn't that great? Everything for life, our life itself is a gift that is freely given. I read that and it just jumped out at me. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I suggest a little strong, recommend. Try taking these precepts with you in your life. Mull them over. See what comes up. What fits in your life? What doesn't fit in your life? Where are your morals and your lines that you don't cross? And will they move? Will there be completely new ones made and old ones collapsed? I think that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you.